When you're in state of gratitude, your body feels that vibration of the gratitude of being grateful, and it changes you. You know what I mean? It's on an energetic level as well. So gratitude is probably the most simplest way to change your life instead of focusing on negative, on the lack of things, because that's the way we've been programmed. Be grateful for what you have. And when you are grateful for what you have, guess what? You're going to get more of it.
Hello, and welcome to another powerful episode of the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches so many of us on the healing journey: trauma and emotional regulation. So whether it shows up as chronic stress, emotional reactivity, or a sense of disconnect from your body, unresolved trauma can quietly run the show in our nervous system and our daily lives. In this episode, From Triggered to Transformed, we'll explore how trauma impacts our emotional health and the body, and most importantly, how to begin shifting from survival mode into true healing. You will learn practical strategies to calm your nervous system, understand your emotional responses with compassion, and create more inner safety and resilience. So if you've ever felt stuck in patterns of anxiety, overwhelm, or emotional shutdown, this episode is your invitation to come home to yourself, because healing is possible and transformation is possible. And it all starts with learning how to regulate and restore from within. So let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. I'm so excited to have my dear friend, Katrina, who is a passionate healer, a trauma coach, and hypnotherapist whose journey began over 10 years ago with access bars and Reiki. And over the years, she advanced through various modalities, including Reiki 1, to hypnotherapy, trauma coaching, intuitive coaching, and multidimensional quantum healing, which culminates in the development of her own unique healing style that combines all of these amazing, powerful tools. Her path to becoming a Reiki master wasn't rushed. She believed that true mastery requires personal healing, self-growth, and emotional and spiritual readiness. And this commitment to her own journey has allowed her to take on the responsibility of initiating others into Reiki with deep care and respect. Her healing approach is intuitive and tailored to each individual unique needs, ensuring that every session provides exactly what the client needs in their moment, in their lives. And though she works with all types of clients, she has a special connection with children and men and believes her purpose is to help heal the world. Welcome, Katrina. You speak my language.
Thank you for having me today.
We're both on the same path, and I love what you do. And we've been friends now for a fair while, and I wanted to have you on because I wanted to share what you do with the listeners. So tell me a bit about how you got into this, and how you got the calling. Was it gifts that got passed down? So tell me a bit about how you got into the whole spiritual healing.
Okay, so I actually come from a whole lineage of women that are very gifted. My mom, very gifted. Even my daughter is very gifted. My grandma, and I was very gifted as a child. But as children, we get scared, we put it away. And I just grew up with my mom always giving, had dreams about stuff. And then my daughter was seeing spirits everywhere, and I'm like, oh, it bypassed me. But I went through a lot of trauma as well. So once I started healing the trauma, my gifts started coming back. So it was pretty amazing that all these gifts started coming through, and I'm like, it just hit me like a ton of brick. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, And but I loved it, and I always, from a very young child, I knew I wanted to help people and heal people, but not in the modern way. And I'm like, I don't want to be a doctor, I don't want to be a nurse. That doesn't do anything for me. But I had always had that thing in my heart that I have to help people somehow. So when I finally kind of came to and started, I had an epiphany as well that, I won't go into it too much, but I had an epiphany and I just knew that was my path. So I started with the Access bars, and then I did Reiki 1, and then a year later, I think I did Reiki 2. I think becoming Reiki master took me 5 or 6 years because I still had so much healing to do, because I had so much trauma from childhood and teenage and just life in general. And then in the meantime, I was, all these other things were coming up as well. So a lot of my work is very intuitive because I am tuned in with all my clients. But yeah, I actually come from a whole lineage, and I am Polish, and I know I have the original gypsy blood in Eastern European gypsy blood in me. And mum goes, no, we don't. But I'm like, yes,
Mm,
we do, mum.
yeah.
Because I have a lot it's funny because I have a lot of spiritual clients that come to me and goes, why do we keep seeing gypsies around you? I'm like, so we can't get bloodlines,
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
intergenerational. And so what did your
yeah, it
family
is
go
multi
through
that generation.
and did your family go through the war? Like, were they part of the war as well? World War II? Did they go
Yeah,
through that, so trauma? Yeah.
both of my granddads served in the armies, in the Polish resistance, obviously, through the Germans. So one of my grandmas was taken as a 15-year-old from her village and was taken to Germany as a servant for one of the SS commanders for quite a few years. So when she came back to Poland, she didn't know if her family was alive or not, but luckily for her, they were. But yeah, she was taken as a 15-year-old to be a servant for an SS commander.
Wow, that's crazy. And so tell people who don't know what access bars is, like, what's access bars? I know what Reiki is because I myself is a Reiki master, but we can describe
Yeah.
Reiki, but what are
So
access
access
bars?
bars, it's point specific. Not that I really use or follow the you know because you get specific points. I just get guided to it. There's specific points on the head that can relieve pain, that can relieve blocks, but I combine, like, even though I have all the certificates and hit this and that and whatever, I made it into my own thing and I get guided. So I don't need no nothing. It's just my hands get stuck on a point and I start releasing negative thought processes, and I can hear what
Your
the
thoughts?
people are actually thinking,
Wow.
like, and then I tell them, it's like, how do you know that? I'm like, just know, So yeah, I get because I'm so intuitive. And once you tune into the
Yeah, it's
body,
energy. It's a
the body
blockage.
tells you things, the mind
Yeah.
tells you things, and it's the vessel that's telling you things. You know what I mean? So it's not the human; it's the energetic vessel.
Yeah, and there's so much because so many people have blocks, which we'll go into. So I'd love to talk about, sort of nervous system. I guess a lot of people are in fight or flight. A lot of people have trauma from even not only in this life, but in previous lives, generational trauma. We carry like a big bag, like a sack of trauma when we're even born. So let's talk about sort of why is it important to release trauma, how that really affects your nervous system, and why is it so important to make sure that we clear all of that for our physical and emotional health? So,
Okay, so trauma doesn't just affect the nervous system; it affects everything.
yeah. Yeah.
Trauma can cause diseases. Trauma can cause anxiety, depression. Trauma can cause everything. And a lot of people have very unconscious trauma. Trauma can happen in the womb when your mum's very stressed or going through a lot of stuff during pregnancy. That trauma can be within you when you're born. When you had a hard birth.
Yes.
I have a lot of clients in their 40s. I'm like, "Did you have a hard birth?" And she
Mm,
said, "Yeah, yeah," and I'm like,
that sits
"Yeah,
in your
because your
energy.
body is still trauma from that."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
people don't realize, and that that trauma can be from even the womb and from birth. They're like, "What do you mean?" So you kind of explain it to them, and the world is a bit traumatized. Let's face it. You know what I mean? And a lot of people suppress the trauma. They don't want to heal because it's too hard, or they don't want to go through, releasing it. I know that some people, when they deal with trauma, they take you back to the trauma age and, like a young child or something. I've got a different method. I don't want you going back and getting re-traumatized.
Yeah.
I just release it
Yeah.
because to me, it's the past, and it's not a jail sentence in a way. You know what I mean? You don't. It doesn't have to be in every day or rule you or how you are and who you are. So my job is to release it. Sometimes I get to see what it is. Majority of the times I don't. I just have to release so we can close the past and move forward. So because the past, when we're stuck in the past, we are stuck in you know trauma. We are stuck in depression. When we worry too much about the future, we're in an anxiety
Yes,
state,
correct.
in this, in the flight and fight
Yeah,
mode,
yeah.
because you're always on edge, you're worrying what's going to happen to you. We need to be in a state of flow. You know what I mean? And that's what I always tell my clients. We need to flow. We need to go with the flow, because when we don't, there's like, and I explain it as a river, when we're not in the flow, there's boulders along the river. And then what happens is your energy is trying to move like this and it's hard. But when we just stay in the flow and we clear the energetic blocks, it just flows when we're not worried about the future, because we really don't know what the future
True,
holds for us, right?
true.
We've got no clue. Yes, we can have plans. I have big plans for myself, but I don't sit there like, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Oh my God, how am I going to get there? I'm just leaving it to the universe and to the flow of the universe. As long as you're taking steps forwards, you don't have to worry how you're going to get there.
But most people, yeah, like you said, they are stuck in the past. And even some people have suppressed their traumas, like even with the work that I do with my clients, they've suppressed it. Some people don't even remember the traumas and they're wondering why they're unconscious behaviors. Because when we're young, we don't either remember it, but it's there in our energetic field, right? But they've suppressed it, or their parents had trauma and that was all there and they don't know why they're reacting in such a way. So until we tap in, which everyone has trauma, right? And it can
Absolutely.
impact,
And
yeah.
sometimes, as you said, it's ancestral. And I have a client, I'm like, she's telling me a story. I'm like, oh, it's your grandma.
Mm, yeah.
And I can clear that. I can go into this ancestral lines and clear that. Sometimes comes from my past lives. I go into people's past lives, and the stuff that I see is horrific.
Mm, we've all lived,
Is
yeah,
horrific.
we've all lived a lot of crazy lives.
We have, and a lot of women, mind you, some men as well, because there were women in past lives as well. So I always ask, that has this man been a woman? Because I'll go through two different portals
Mm,
into their past life. I'll go through the soul portal and I'll go through the womb portal, because the womb is energetic as well.
yeah.
And some
Well,
men
conception is
were
how we were
women
made,
in
yeah,
the
that
past.
conception, but being passed down from generation to
Exactly.
generation.
So, I ask, and if he was a woman in past lives, I'll enter through the womb, the energetic womb, not the real womb, and I'll clear that. And a majority of women have what is called a witch wound. They were burned, they were
Yeah.
drowned. I've seen
Yeah.
some horrific things when I enter people's lives, but then I get to see really amazing things as well, and
Mm.
beautiful things,
But yeah,
and
so
knowledge that needs to be released. So I release the knowledge from the past lives as well.
because I know so many people have never even looked at their trauma, never fixed it, think this is how I'm meant to be, right?
Because you're used to that fight and flight, always busy, always overthinking. Because overthinking is a trauma response.
I guess trauma coming from parents, if we don't clear it and going into the womb, you were saying, it causes a lot of, yeah, trauma when you're not going into the womb and clearing that from past lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a client. She was Chinese, and she came and she was very disconnected from her 15-year-old. She loved her, but she was very disconnected. And she sat here, and I'm like, okay, I feel into her energy, and it was coming from her grandma, because her grandma was adopted, was beaten. Then she gave birth to her mum, and very similar, she was adopted and beaten. And then all that trauma is getting passed on and
Yeah.
passed on. And once I cleared all that, oh, I just got goosebumps and chills
Mhm.
when I'm talking about it. When I cleared her, she sat here with a smile and crying for an hour, and I just held her space for releasing all that. And she went, oh my God, I just feel amazing and light, because it wasn't her, it was her grandma and it was just getting reborn, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's so important to look at all aspects of the generations, past lives, the unconscious, as you mentioned before, because we don't remember. And it doesn't have to be massive trauma. People think trauma is rape, murder. It's not. Anything that triggers your body
Even
is
phobias,
trauma.
even something as small as phobias or an intense
Yes.
fear for something, right? It could have happened because of trauma from anywhere. It's come from a lot of places. But most people are not doing the work on themselves to clear that. So it manifests as physical health, it manifests as deep emotional problems. And I think that these days, so many people are carrying trauma because I haven't really looked at how, by clearing trauma, how can my life be better, easier, right? We don't carry that huge energetic, sort of all that energy on our shoulders. We can live a much more smoother life and be more in flow. Like I said, most people are not in flow. You see that as well. And everyone is either stuck in the past, like you said, or they're fearful of the future, fearful of something that hasn't happened yet. Right? They're all living in fear, anxiety, right? Or guilt from past events.
Totally. And we need to be present. We need to live in the present and just concentrate on the present. Because in the present, when you're not present, when you're not present, there could be, opportunities and things coming at you. And if you're not present, you're going to miss them.
Mm, yeah.
So it's so important, to be in the present. And look, even as a healer, because, I'm a human too, and I've got lots of stuff going on with my daughter, with this, with that. And I get lost sometimes. And what I do when I feel like I'm getting, a bit too far in advance or something, I just put my hands on my heart, close my eyes, and I just say, I am so grateful for all the abundance in my life right here, right now, and I just feel myself snap back into here and now, and that's so important.
Nice. We'll cover some practical tips later. But I
Yeah,
guess
cool.
I'd love to talk about womb healing for a lot of the clients. I'm in that fertility space and natural healing. But let's talk about, because I'd love to hear what you do with the womb healing. I also had a session myself with you. So let's talk about how, with women and conception, trauma from the womb can really impact like falling pregnant. It can impact a lot of other dysregulations we see, both anxiety, nervous system. It might show up in physical symptoms like endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, all sorts of things we see happening with the womb specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I do a womb healing, I'll go through the physical womb and the energetic womb as well. So obviously, through the womb, we'll go to, clean the past lives and cleanse it. But in front of me, when I have the person, I'll go inside the body and I cleanse, because if you've had, maybe you've lost a baby in some way, and I'm not going to specify because there's different ways, and I'm not judging anyone by saying, I'm just saying losing a baby. The energy is still there.
Yes.
So what I do is I'll go in and I cleanse the energy. I put white light. I work on the ovaries. I've done a lot of, psychic surgeries on people like I did on you. And I cleansed, the ovaries, the tubes, the womb itself. And, I've picked up like, oh, there's some, and like I've picked up lesions and that people have in the wombs or whatever. So I go in very deep and I cleanse that, like I said, on an energetic level and a human level as well, because there's so many different facets to us, and
Yes.
the medical system just
The
concentrate
physical.
on the
It's like what they can
on
see,
the core.
right? It's only what they
Yeah,
can see. Sometimes what they
exactly.
can't see. They don't
You
pick up
know,
things at all,
exactly.
right?
And
Yeah. That
and
makes sense.
sometimes when I get in the womb or even a different part of the body when I'm doing the psychic surgeries, and there's so much energy stuck there. It's
Wow.
just so blocked up. So I cleanse that. A lot of people have gut
Oh
issues,
yeah.
and it's because they have bad energy. We just have to clear that.
Yeah. Everything's energy,
You know what I
right?
mean?
Mm,
And that, yeah, and scars. That's trauma to the skin, to the body, and it's holding it's holding energy.
yes.
So once we start clearing the energy of that, it starts feeling better. It starts healing better, and that's how I work.
And that's kind of what I do, but on a practical sense, like using acupuncture, I also use the Reiki as well. But energy, when you can feel the energy meridians, you can see where it's blocked, you can feel where it's blocked. And even
Yeah,
the client themselves, if they're not in tune, you can easily become more in tuned, because most people these days are so disconnected from their
yeah,
bodies that they just give it to the medical system. They're giving their power over to someone else who's not in their body, who doesn't feel them. So if you
no,
can't even feel what is inside your own body, right, on a physical, mental, emotional level, and you go and you see someone for 5 minutes and expect them to know everything about what should be the next steps, and you give the power away, there's a big problem these days, right? They're not in tune, they're not knowing how to read themselves, they're not knowing how to understand, okay, let's do some work, let's, clear some of this, right? And they just push it down. Like I said, they push it down into their digestive system, they push it down to the womb, which holds all that energy, and they don't know why things are not moving, right? They're feeling terrible. And then they
absolutely.
eat worse as well. So if your energy's flat, like, if you've had a bad night's sleep, you're not sleeping well, you wake up with flat energy, you're going to eat all the wrong things. And so it becomes this whole vicious cycle, because we're trying to feel better somehow. And then we gravitate towards bad diet, bad food to make us feel better in that short term, causing more
I've
problems.
been there myself, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And yeah, I finally, came to the conclusion, and I've done so much research that we as human eat way too much food.
Oh, we
We
don't.
should not,
Well, people are
we
eating.
only should be eating
Yeah.
once a day. So I liquid fast, and then I have one meal at about 5:30. And on my 50th birthday, I was really heavy, people, menopause, whatever. I'm not making excuses, but that's
Mm.
one good excuse. But since then, I've lost 21 kilos.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because I
Good.
started caring about my body, and we meant to feel hunger, because hunger is
A
when
signal.
we feel hunger, the body's cleansing itself. So when I feel hungry, I'm like, yay, I'm excited because I know that my body is eating all the bad things.
Yeah.
You know what I
But it's
mean?
also the Chinese
Yeah.
mentality, and even in Eastern philosophy, you're supposed to eat to 80% full, right? And you're not
Yeah.
supposed to fill yourself up. Like, it's not the 5 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks in
No,
between.
God, no.
And then after dinner, it's a big dessert, right? People are big on, okay, you've got to
Mhm.
have a dessert after, like a dinner, which is the worst time to be having a dessert. And they eat a big meal and then they go to sleep, right? So all of that. And then they feel like their energy's flat. So, it's all of that. So it's both, looking at the physical, and that's usually because people, or they're eating because they've got no energy, like we talked about, right? The
Yeah.
energies are so flat.
Yeah.
There could be, conflicting things happening. And so they're needing that big sugar hit. And before you know it, all that sugar compounds. And so weight, that's all that's all nervous system issues. Because if there's fight or flight, if we're more in flow, right? Like you see, and then if they're eating better, they're going to feel better. They're not going to eat massive amounts. They're going to eat healthier because they don't want to jeopardize or sabotage, and make their bodies, go the opposite, right? So
Absolutely. Like juicing,
yeah,
smoothies, with good organic produce. That's really important because our body needs all that.
yes,
I've gone off dairy. I don't actually have dairy anymore
yeah,
because I know that it causes inflammation in the gut and stuff. I've done a lot of research, and I don't agree with the dairy industry, what they do to the
the
poor calves
hormones,
as well. So
yeah.
it's
Well,
very
that's
dear to my
energetic as
heart.
well. People don't realize that when we're
Yeah.
eating food,
Yes.
all of that is energetic, right? So that's why cows that are pasture raised with good organic food, right? And they've got lots of room to roam, they're eating good food, as opposed to grain fed, right? Grain fed, beef or cattle. And
Yep.
then let's not even go into the farming practices, like going off topic, but
Yeah, I know.
all the energy, basically the energy from the way the animal is living, the way the animal is
Yeah,
being killed, and the way the animal is being
absolutely.
prepared, that is all energy. And then when we're eating that, we're actually taking on a lot of that energy. So let alone energy from our own cells, but also what we're consuming and how we're eating, right? I think a lot of the
Absolutely.
time people
Because
are
I thought it
rushing their foods.
Yeah, because I'm into energy. So when I walk into the supermarket, not that I go very often, I can't walk past the milk section because I feel the energy from the mother that her baby was taken away, and
Pumped
she's
pumped 6
producing
hours a day to
stress
pump the milk,
stress
right?
hormones, you know what I mean? Because the baby was taken away. Same with meat. I don't eat meat. I can't eat meat. I feel the trauma
Yeah.
because this meat in the supermarket, like you said, it doesn't come from a very good background. It's not looked after
There's no good
properly.
farming practices these days,
No.
not much, no.
So
That needs to
everything is
change.
energy, and
It
I
is.
feel that, and I'm like, I can't put that into my body.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, there's people don't realize that even the food we eat, the way we're eating, right? It's all energy, it's all blocks, and it all needs to be worked on. And that's the last thing people think about, right? They're not thinking about all the connections that are happening on a real deep physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic level, right? Most people are only
Absolutely.
very small, like they're just thinking very small, right? They're not thinking big picture, nor do they have I guess that's why we're educating people, but they don't understand how it's all interlinked. Because I
Yeah,
do
they
see
don't
it.
have the knowledge because the medical system doesn't teach you that. The
Well, you
medical
don't see
system gives
energy,
you a
right?
prescription.
Well, you don't
Yeah,
see
it
the
gives you a
energy, so they're
prescription.
like, "Oh, there's nothing. Oh, you say there's something wrong with your gut. Here's a pill to fix whatever," right? Like
Absolutely.
it could be acid reflux, it could be headaches, it could be here's a pill to fix it, right? Which is not fixing. It's band-aiding,
Absolutely.
right? It's
It's
band-aiding.
it's unfortunately they've trained us that we want quick fixes. And
Well, people
if you
don't wanna
really
do
want
the
to heal
work.
yourself,
Well, don't you think people
it's
don't wanna
not a
do the
quick
work?
fix. No, it's not a quick fix.
Yeah. So talking about like trauma, a lot of people don't want to do the work. They might think it's really hard. It might be like, might bring up all the stuff, right? But like I said, it's more clearing it. Once you clear it, they can feel, they
Yeah,
themselves, if they're in tune, can feel a lifting, a lightness, right?
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, whenever I do a healing, people, like I said, I don't get to see it. I don't want to. I know people that do take them back and re-traumatize them. Sometimes they leave them there.
Oh, in the
I
edit,
was talking
yes.
to someone,
Back
they
in that
get left.
timeline. Yes.
Yeah, they got left in this traumatic period of their life when they were a child, and the hypnotherapist never actually brought them back to today's day. They left them there. So these poor people are so traumatized that they have to get extra healings and all this. And that's why I don't do it. I don't take people back. I just release it. That's my job. My job is to release it. We don't need to know what happened to you. I don't need to know. I've had so many conversations and fights with different people and healers and people say, "Oh, you're so selfish." I'm not selfish. You selfish because
You're
you want
allowing
to take
them. Yeah.
somebody back to a trauma
You're
period for them to
re-traumatizing
be
them. Yeah.
re-traumatized, you know. Hey,
Mm.
why? Let's just release it, move on.
Mm.
It doesn't dictate who you are today. It's
Uh,
just something there that needs to,
be
it's
clear.
blocking you from moving. Let's release that block. Let's move on. So, yeah, I have so many discussions and fights about this with a lot of different people. And I'm like, you know what? You do you. I do me. My clients like what I do because they keep coming back. Majority of them, some don't because they don't want to do the work. And they bring me people. So, whatever I'm doing, it's working for them. So, you stick to your ways, I stick to mine because I believe in my ways. This is soul searching, healing personally on different levels, and I'm comfortable and my soul and my heart feels right the way I heal people.
Yeah, you just have to be aligned with the way you're doing
Yeah,
things, right? And they're kind of like
absolutely.
me. We adapt what we like from certain modalities, right? And the more tools we have, it might be this person, would love this tool. And so you use that on them. So,
Yeah,
it's whatever you identify as the clients, whatever they need.
absolutely.
Let's talk about root emotional blocks, I guess, like going back to what that root cause is and how that's contributing to like chronic stress, right? What could be that root cause of what is driving some of the, the emotional dysregulation in a lot of people? Like how you find the
You
root
know,
cause.
yeah. So basically, I tune into the energy and I get to feel like sometimes I'll get a feeling and I'm like, what happened to you at 5 years old? And they're like,
They don't
my
remember
parents
some.
separated. Yeah. My parents, I'm like, you're still holding stuff from this. I had one guy came for hypnotherapy and he had a sound Reiki healing earlier that morning. He was literally crying in my chair because he's separated yet again from his partner 5 times, going back and forth. And he was crying. And I'm like, look, I said, I know my healing abilities, you know, you need a healing. And then I feeled into his energy and I'm like, what happened to you at age 5, I think? And he goes, my parents. I said, that's what's causing all your stuff. You know what I mean? Because some of the people don't even know it's a trigger. And when I put people on my table, I actually count out from birth to today's date what specific age they're still holding trauma from.
Mm.
I don't need to know what it is because that's not none of my business.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes like
They
that,
don't even
like that
remember.
guy I was talking.
They just
Yeah,
need
I
to
was talking.
perhaps maybe they might remember, maybe not, but it's just an awareness and it's like actually was from when you were this age. It could have been from their one. They're not going to remember what happened when they were one. But it's
Exactly. I mean, this guy remembered because obviously it was massive. His parents separated. That's huge. You know what I mean? So I felt it straight away. But some people don't know. So when I put them on my table, I actually count from conception to today's date, and I'll get a feeling at what age they are still holding the trauma from. And like I said, sometimes I get to see it. Sometimes I don't. Majority of the times I don't. And that's how I know where the trauma starts from. And then I start releasing from this life. And then obviously I'll go into past life and across all universes and whatever. And sometimes when I enter the past lives as well, I get to see the trauma as well. And they're not even aware of it, because I had a client and, many generations from past life, she was somebody's servant and she used to get beaten up when it was
Mm,
dry.
yeah.
And in this life, she goes, oh my God, that makes sense because I've got OCD.
Mm.
Anything out of place, I panic.
'Cause she has to be
And I'm like,
protecting her.
there you go. There you go. That's why.
Yeah. When it's extreme behavior, you have to wonder where it's coming from, right? I mean, it's come
Exactly,
from somewhere,
exactly.
right? No one's born with that. And it's like, it's so deep. It's not just like it's a little bit about when people have really crazy, specific things that need to be done or they don't know
Yep,
why they're feeling so strongly about something. Yeah. A lot of it is
absolutely.
is being influenced.
Absolutely. So it just made sense to her, like, oh my God, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why I'm OCD. I said, yeah, because I used to get beaten up if something was out of place.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't
Uh,
that weird? Hey?
yeah. So how about like some client stories? So what have you done? Like, maybe you can share like a personal client story and where their nervous system, you shared a few already, so it was so out, the emotional clearing led through like a huge breakthrough for
I've
them.
got one. And I'm a mother of 2 kids, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? She was 23, she's my daughter's age, and when she came to me, she was like this. I was her last resort before she wanted to commit suicide. She thought she would try something. She was been with a psychologist for 2
Yeah,
years.
wow.
2 years with this. She has re-traumatized her. She's gone through so much.
Yeah.
She was, raped and whatnot, and what the psychologist was doing was re-traumatizing her.
Every time. Yeah.
It's a desensitization
Desensitization,
method
yeah.
where you keep going and talking about it until you can't feel anything, and she goes, "I would go to my car and I couldn't move because I was numb from it."
Mm.
And I'm like, "That's abuse.
No, that's terrible.
That's" Yeah, and
It
she's
is.
23 years old. She's a
Wow.
baby, right?
She's still got a whole life
So
ahead. Yeah.
exactly, so the first healing, because she never had one, she just found me. Like I said, people find me when they're meant to find me. I don't advertise anywhere. People just find
Mm.
me. And she found me. She wasn't far from me, and she was literally shaking. She goes, you are my last resort." Put on the table. She was really jumpy and skittish, which I don't blame her, the poor little thing. So we did the first healing. She did feel better though.
Mm.
And I sat with her because it was a Sunday because I work 7 days a week. It was a Sunday. We've got similar stories in a lot of ways, and I just spend the time with her as well and talking. And she goes, "I feel really comfortable in this room. I feel really like validated because no one was listening to her." You know what I mean? I held the space. I gave her the room to talk, and she came back. She had 3 healings and a hypnotherapy, completely different human being. And she told her psychologist goodbye. And the psychologist tried to,
Discredit?
she wasn't ready to let her go. She goes, "You're not ready to go."
Mm.
And she goes, "Yeah, I am. I'm
I'm
in
glad
control of."
I feel better now than I've ever felt.
Yeah, I feel better. No thanks to you, but I feel better. So she just ignored after that. She actually told me what she wrote. And I'm like, "That's not right." Because she's taking, the laws of universe, we still have to go by laws of universe, right? The first law of the universe is free will. You're taking somebody's free will away. I never tell my clients to come back because I'm taking their free will away. I said, "If you need me, you know where I am."
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? Because I'm big on the universal laws as well. So I try to work with everything. But to see her now, she's she's come back to herself. She is so powerful and strong. She knows exactly what she wants. She knows what direction she's going. And it's like complete 3 healings and a hypnotherapy. Amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Most people are working on that, or they don't know who to see, or perhaps they've been seeing someone, right,
Yep.
doing the work, but it might not be the right modality or
Uh,
something just hasn't shifted, right? And
yeah,
so they're
absolutely.
feeling extremely, yeah, extremely vulnerable and nothing shifted. And it's sad to see when people aren't living to their best potential because our lives we should be living to our best of our potential. We should be happy, healthy, and calm most days. But if we're getting triggered, if there's still past traumas, we need to look at clearing that, whether it is because you want better health, you want to prepare for a baby, right? There's a lot of energetic,
Yeah,
having a baby is
absolutely. Especially
highly
preparing for a
spiritual.
baby.
Yes. And so,
Yeah,
my clients, it's a
especially for that.
highly spiritual thing, right? And if you don't clear the traumas, whether it is as terrible things as rape or abuse or something like that, that is deep energy that is blocked, in the womb, in your energy, in conception, right? And let alone if it's not just you, it's also your partner, right? People forget the men as well. If they've gone through trauma, that energy is still coming together and it's like, that's not going to happen, right? That energy is still, a lot of it still needs to be cleared on both people because we don't want to carry that,
Oh yeah.
bring that forward to our
Yeah,
own
because
children.
I promote men's healing because men been programmed from a very young age. You don't talk about your emotions because that's a weakness.
Yeah. Or you don't clear anything.
So men
Yeah.
hold on to so much, and that's
Okay.
why drug abuse, alcohol abuse, violence,
Yes.
because it's all
They're
spilling
trying to
out.
let
You know
that
when you
energy out because it's so suppressed,
Yes,
right? It's so suppressed that they're looking for
absolutely.
outlets to drink or to, do drugs or to womanize or porn, whatever it is that they do to outlet that energy because it's so pent up. Right. And women are
Yeah.
good. We have girlfriends. A lot of people chat or we're more open, but men are told, like
No.
societally, right, that you've
Yeah,
got to suppress that. You
absolutely.
can't talk about your feelings. You got to hold everything in. A lot of them, their parents don't talk about energy. Men aren't as in tune. I mean, probably nowadays they are, but the
Bit more,
macho
yeah.
men and even the really masculine, they still don't believe, they could think this is very woo woo, right? And it's till something happens or until they become more educated, then they realize, oh, I do need to work on myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is not woo. This is not about crystals and sage and stuff like that. I mean, can be, you know what
Well,
I
like we're
mean?
talking
But
about
and it
NLP, hypnotherapy, which is actually looking at
exactly.
the unconscious mind and all the trauma that is held there, which affects our mindset, it affects our emotions,
Mhm.
right? And it affects our physical health, right? So, mindset too,
Yes.
just talk a bit about mindset. So, what do you see when people before healing and after, like the way that they're speaking, their mindset?
Oh, completely different. They're just so strong. They're more in the flow, you know what I mean? And for a long time, they've been concentrating just on the mind. You know what I mean? If we don't release the trauma from the body,
Yes.
you can work on your mind, pay millions of dollars if you want to. It's gonna catch up with you if you don't heal it from the body. You
Mm.
need to, you know,
Mind and body.
my job, my feeling on all of this is I need to put a human back together and treat the mind and the body together. That's why I became a hypnotherapist as well, not just a healer, because it's so important to heal us as one,
Yes.
not separate the mind from the body. So that's why I usually recommend, sometimes the healing is enough
Mm.
because once you release all that stagnant energy and all the trauma from the bodies and stuff, they don't even need hypno because they think it's hypno because that's all they've heard about. But once they release
Energetic block.
that's like, "Oh my god."
Mm.
Yeah, because I mean, I do release during the healing, I
Yeah.
do release negative thought process and negative, anything that's holding them back. I release it during a healing as well. So it's like, no. And they're having amazing shifts and it's just so beautiful to see they feel lighter, they feel happy, they're smiling first time in 5 years' time, you know what I mean?
Yes, that's it, right? Some people
They
are so
come
depressed and their energies, they don't know
yeah,
how to smile and be happy. They don't know when the last time they were truly happy was, right? Or
that's
truly
exactly
like
right.
clear, they've got that clarity, they know their future, they know their purpose, they know what they're here to do instead of being hiding under a rock or feeling depressed, right? Depression is also a form of
Mhm.
stagnant energy. It hasn't been released. They're feeling,
Absolutely.
all of the negative emotions.
Yeah, and I have a beautiful healing room at home, and it's a very safe space, and people feel very comfortable. But some people come and cry because they've been holding on
Release.
to so much, and this is such a safe space for them. They just sit here and they cry, and they're like, I don't know why I'm crying. I said, it's okay. Everybody
It's a good
said,
release,
you're not,
right? Right. It's crying is good. Some
yeah, it's
people
private. It's a safe space for them. So when you feel safe, everything starts coming out. And then once I put them on my table and they come off after an hour or 90 minutes, or whatever it is, they're like, oh my God, I feel different.
Mm,
I feel light.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because all that trauma they've been carrying
Yes.
and it's heavy,
Yeah.
it's really heavy stuff. They're like, it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
amazing.
gone.
Sometimes with
They feel
acupuncture,
light.
it's the same. Like I notice when people, especially the first time, they've never had energetic work, right? Acupuncture is a proven system, right? That clears the meridians, clears all of the emotions, right? Gets the energy moving again. So people who've never done energy work might start with something that's more like, sort of like acupuncture. Okay. And then, yeah, they don't know why the first session I'm like, just be aware, like, sometimes at night something could come up or even on the table. They're just like, because the energy's flowing better. When our energy's
Yeah,
flowing better, right, we're going to feel better in general, right? But obviously, some people need more work and depending on the trauma and the energy blocks, right, more sessions. But just even the initial, like any sort of energetic work, whether it's Reiki, it's acupuncture, anything like that, that's clearing the meridians, clearing the fields, they're going to feel that lightness straight after. It's a wonderful feeling.
absolutely. And it's really important for the meridians to be flowing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's so many different parts to us that need to be
Yeah.
in the flow state of flow.
That's cool.
And people, when they're just listening to the modern medicine, they're not aware of any of that
Mm,
because they just get a script. And if this script doesn't work, you get another script and then another script and then another script. And especially with antidepressive medicine, it numbs you up. I call it flatlining because you can't feel, you can't do this. So a lot of people, they just go on about the daily life, not feeling, not smiling. They're just
It's just
surviving.
living almost like, yeah, robotic. They're just doing the motions, but there's no
Yeah,
feeling, right? They're just
no.
going about and doing the emotion of what they need to do. But yeah, we need to feel. We're
Yeah, it's
human
almost like
beings.
being a robot,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? In a way, you're just going through the
correct.
processes, but yeah, it's sad to see, and it's really hard getting off that medication because a few of my clients have
Yeah,
done
it's the
it,
same.
and it's not an easy thing. It's not a pretty thing. The side effects of them coming off pretty horrendous. So I try to stop them going. I said, try this and try CBD oil, try different venues, try healings, try this before you get on the medicine because it's really hard to
Yeah,
get
it's
off it.
very yeah, I'm the same. I might wean a client off antidepressants working with their doctors, but also for themselves, it's like you've got to use something else, right? Do the energetic work, do supplementation, do something more natural, and then slowly as you're feeling better, you reduce your dose, speak to your doctor, especially those
Absolutely.
who've been on it a long time, right? And when they're ready,
Yeah,
help many
breath work
people.
is really good.
Yes, breath work.
You can do very simple breath work. I mean, I don't go and do crazy breath work. I just do very
Yeah,
simple breath work. Grounding is amazing because obviously the earth
walking
gives
on
out
grass,
frequency that we need, right?
working on grass.
And when we ground, you feel better within a couple of minutes because you're getting like a recharge.
Mm, mm. Literally, we have to recharge our batteries. Most people, they're
Yep,
recharging their phones more than their own selves. Right? We charge our phones
absolutely.
every day, but we don't recharge ourselves every day.
I know. So every day, even in winter time, I take my shoes off, I go out the back and
Yeah,
put
pick
my
up a
hands
piece
on
of
my
grass.
heart and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Look at the
and even on my
sun.
lunch break.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do all those things. So, I
yeah.
guess, wrapping up, what are some of the practical tips? We just covered a couple of them. What are some practical tips that people can do themselves? Like, what do you recommend? What are your advice to people when they're sort of feeling stuck emotionally, when they're in a bit of trauma and they're not feeling their best? Just some practical steps, and then maybe the next step that they can take if they want to really look at healing themselves.
The basics like we mentioned, grounding.
Yeah.
Try grounding. Take your shoes off. If you don't have any, some people unfortunately don't have grass on the thing, touch a tree. If you can't touch it, go to your local park, take your shoes off and
Mm,
spend 5 minutes walking barefooted. Just connect to earth because the earth gives out specific frequency that we
yeah.
need that recharges us.
Yes.
You know what I
Water.
mean? And
Even water, right? If you're
wa-
not near parks or
water as well.
water.
But we've got to be careful about water though, because the tap water is
Not
so
tap water, beach
poison.
water, like the ocean.
Yeah, beach water. Go to the ocean when you can.
Yeah.
I mean, you can charge, if you got really good filters in your home, you can charge the water, tell the water, gratitude and love, and it's going to recharge you because I do that
And
and I
add some
feel the
Epsom
water.
salt, add some, like, Himalaya, like some
Yeah,
rock salt, something natural.
absolutely.
Essential oils, yeah.
To liven it up, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But yeah, meditation is really good and it doesn't have to be an hour. Even if you just close your eyes for 10 minutes without any music, because I'm a great believer of silent meditation.
Mhm. I love
Um,
that too.
just
Yeah.
yeah, just
Be with
sit,
yourself.
put your hands on
Yeah.
yeah, on the heart and just take deep breath and just going into a meditative state, just connect. That's another one. Yoga. Some people like doing yoga. Tai Chi. I actually want to start doing Tai Chi.
Oh,
I've
Tai Chi's
been
what
like,
it's just all on the meridians, yeah.
yeah, I've
People.
I've seen it and it just looks amazing
Yeah.
and so peaceful and graceful. I'm like, I want to do it.
Just
So Tai
moving the
Chi,
body, right? Just moving. Exercise.
yeah,
If it's not
moving
your
the
thing, start
body.
with doing something, right? Movement. Most people aren't moving, so the energy's stuck, right? We say sitting is the new smoking. People sit for way too long. They're on their phones or on the devices more than they're moving, right? So we don't move as much.
The Netflix binge, you know what I mean, all the time, and then the day's gone because you've sat on the couch for 5 hours
Mm.
binging on
Yeah,
Netflix.
yeah, we don't move enough for sure.
You know, as simple as even just putting your music on and just dancing in your house. No
That's
one's
movement. I
looking.
know,
Go
right?
crazy.
Dance and sing at the top of your lungs, right?
Yeah,
Pop the
I do
pillow.
that especially when I'm cleaning.
Mm.
I put the music on, I start dancing like a crazy person. I'm like, oh,
Well,
feeling
yeah.
So, and your movement, even a 20-minute walk is good for you. Fresh air is good for you. So there's so many little simple things that people can do. Obviously, if you can't afford healings or, you know, tune in on YouTube. There's people, doing breath work and if you want to learn a bit more, if you want to get a bit more involved or even the simples, there's people on YouTube doing that, you know what I mean? But yeah, definitely just simple, like, breathe it in for 4,
Box breathing.
hold it for
Yeah,
4, breathe it out for 4. Do that a few times while you're standing, barefoot on your grass. You're gonna feel better.
that's true. So I guess lastly, what is one powerful insight? What's one practice that you yourself do that's changed the way you sort of look at now you work with emotions and nervous system and to balance that? What's one thing that you do
Um,
daily to keep
'Cause I'm a
balance?
bit of a yeah, a bit of a control freak, yeah. Letting go of the control and just staying in the flow.
Yeah, yeah, the awareness,
That's
right? Like
the awareness
trying to
and
control the
gratitude,
future.
like, it's so yeah. And gratitude, and, gratitude, like, is so part of my life now that I get green lights. I'm grateful because gratitude changes your brain
It
patterns as
does,
well,
yeah,
because you're not focusing on the negatives. You're not focusing, sorry, on the lack of things. You are in gratitude. When you're in state of gratitude, your body feels that vibration of the gratitude of being grateful, and it changes you, you know what I mean? It's on an energetic level as well. So gratitude is probably the most simplest way to change your life instead of
yeah,
focusing on negative, on the lack of things, because that's the way we've been programmed.
it's true.
Be grateful for what you have. And when you are grateful for what you have, guess what? You're going to get more of it.
Amazing, Katrina. We could talk for a lot longer, but thank you so
I know.
much
We
for
could do this
joining
for
us,
like
sharing
24 hours, I reckon.
sharing your little tips and, talking about your work and the powerful things that you do. Like you're such a gift to the world and you can really help so many people out there. So we'll post Katrina's links to socials. So if you want to connect with her, you're more than welcome. But thank you so much for joining us
Thank
and
you.
we'll speak soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring or informative, please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It will help us reach more people just like you who are on their journey to vibrant health and balance. For more tips, resources, or to work with me, please visit my website or connect with me on socials. And remember, your health is your superpower. So keep nurturing it, and I'll see you next time.